World War II was not won by firepower alone. It was powered by engines, steel, and endless supply convoys. While tanks and aircraft drew attention, German military trucks and transport vehicles carried the war forward, moving fuel, ammunition, and entire armies across collapsing fronts. In this video, we break down every major German military truck and transport used in World War II, category by category, revealing the machines that kept the war moving. If you want more deep dives into the hidden mechanics of history, subscribe now. Opel Blitz 3-ton was the most common German truck of the war, mass-produced and used everywhere to move fuel, ammunition, food, and troops. Simple and reliable, it kept the Wehrmacht mobile, but its lack of armor made it extremely vulnerable to air attacks. Mercedes-Benz L3000 followed closely, another standardized 3-ton truck valued for durability and long-distance hauling, often operating between railheads and frontline units. Ford V3000 built-in German Ford factories filled the same vital role, allowing Germany to increase production quickly by using multiple manufacturers. Borgwood B3000 added another industrial contributor, supplying the army with dependable medium trucks despite increasing material shortages. Majerus S3000, known for its air-cooled engine, proved especially useful in extreme climates where water-cooled engines struggled. Together, these trucks carried the weight of Germany's war effort. They did not fight battles, but without them, tanks ran dry, artillery fell silent, and infantry stopped moving. As the war expanded and supply lines stretched farther, these medium cargo trucks became overstressed, revealing just how fragile Germany's logistics system truly was. As the war grew larger and supply routes stretched farther, Germany relied on heavier transport vehicles to move loads that medium trucks could no longer handle. Henschel 33 served as a dependable heavy cargo truck, widely used to haul ammunition, construction materials, and fuel over long distances. MAN ML4500 was introduced to carry even greater loads, often towing trailers or transporting equipment essential for sustained operations. Mercedes-Benz L4500 became one of Germany's most capable heavy trucks, valued for its power and endurance, especially on extended supply runs, far from rail lines. Krupp L3H163, easily recognized by its distinctive six-wheel layout, provided improved off-road mobility and was used extensively in difficult terrain. Bussing Air and G trucks rounded out this category, offering robust heavy transport platforms adapted for cargo hauling, fuel transport, and specialized roles. These vehicles were slower, consumed more fuel, and required greater maintenance, but they were indispensable for moving the heavy lifeblood of the army. As Allied air superiority increased, heavy trucks became prime targets and losses mounted quickly. Still, without these machines, Germany's ability to sustain large-scale operations collapsed even faster. While heavy trucks carried the bulk of supplies, Germany also relied on smaller vehicles for mobility, command, and coordination. Volkswagen Kübelwagen Type 82 was Germany's primary light utility vehicle, lightweight, simple, and remarkably capable off-road, thanks to its rear-mounted air-cooled engine. It became essential for liaison duties, scouting, and transporting officers across every front. BMW Sangau Kübelwagen provided four-wheel drive capability, offering improved traction in mud, snow, and rough terrain, making it especially valuable on the Eastern Front, where conditions routinely defeated conventional vehicles. Hawk 108 filled the role of a heavier command and transport car, often used by officers and staff units. With its powerful engine and solid construction, it was better suited for carrying personnel and equipment over longer distances, though it was more complex and harder to maintain than lighter vehicles. These light utility and command vehicles did not haul massive cargo, but they played a critical role in keeping units connected, commanders mobile, and orders moving quickly across the battlefield. As Germany's situation worsened, even these smaller vehicles became increasingly scarce, highlighting how deeply logistics and mobility shaped every aspect of the war. Germany's logistics system also depended heavily on half-track vehicles that could operate where standard trucks failed. Sd.Kfz 7 was one of the most important prime movers of the war. Widely used to tow heavy artillery, such as the 88mm gun, and to transport gun crews and equipment. Its half-track design gave it superior traction on mud, snow, and uneven ground, making it invaluable during mobile operations. However, it was mechanically complex and consumed large amounts of fuel. Sd.Kfz 10 was a lighter and more numerous half-track, primarily used to tow smaller artillery pieces and anti-tank guns. Compact and more economical, it filled the gap between wheeled trucks and heavier tracked vehicles, allowing German units to keep guns moving even when roads disappeared. These vehicles were not fast and offered little protection, but their ability to move heavy loads across difficult terrain made them essential. Half-tracks allowed artillery to keep pace with advancing units and prevented guns from being abandoned during retreats. As conditions worsened and fuel shortages increased, maintaining these vehicles became increasingly difficult. Spare parts were scarce, breakdowns were frequent, and recovery was often impossible under fire. Still, without half-track transports, Germany's artillery would have been far less mobile and far less effective. These machines quietly bridged the gap between logistics and firepower, proving that mobility mattered just as much as the guns themselves. When standard trucks and lighter half-tracks reached their limits, Germany turned to massive heavy movers, designed for the most demanding tasks. FAMO was the largest half-track fielded by Germany and one of the most powerful recovery and transport vehicles of the war. It was used to tow heavy artillery, recover damaged tanks, and move loads that no other vehicle could handle. Its immense size and strength made it indispensable, but it was slow, fuel-hungry, and difficult to maintain under wartime conditions. Hanomag SS-100 served a similar role as a heavy artillery tractor, distinguished by its wheeled configuration and immense torque. Originally designed for heavy towing, it became essential for moving large guns, trailers, and equipment across relatively firm ground. Both vehicles were specialized solutions to extreme logistical problems, built to move what ordinary trucks simply could not. As Allied's superiority tightened, these large machines became highly visible targets, and their losses were difficult to replace. Despite this, they remained in constant demand, often working at the very edge of their mechanical limits. These heavy movers represented the peak of German transport capability, powerful but inefficient, and ultimately symbolic of a logistics system strained beyond its capacity as the war dragged on. As the war shifted east, Germany faced terrain that quickly destroyed conventional logistics. Deep mud, heavy snow, and collapsing roads rendered wheeled transport nearly useless, forcing the creation of extreme solutions. RSO Raupenschlepper Ost was designed specifically to survive these conditions on the Eastern Front. Simple, slow, and brutally utilitarian, it used a fully tracked chassis to move supplies, artillery, and equipment where trucks could not operate at all. Its design sacrificed speed and comfort for traction and reliability, making it one of the few vehicles capable of functioning during the infamous Rasputitsa seasons. The RSO was powered by a modest engine and built with minimal materials, reflecting Germany's growing shortages and desperation. Crews often described it as crude but effective. It could tow guns, carry cargo, and continue moving long after roads had disappeared into mud or ice. However, its limitations were severe. It was slow, exposed, and uncomfortable for crews, and it offered no protection against enemy fire. Despite these flaws, the RSO became indispensable. Without it, entire units would have been cut off during winter operations. The Rappenschlepper Ost was not a symbol of innovation or power, but of necessity. It represented the moment when German logistics adapted to survive rather than dominate, proving that even the simplest machines could decide whether an army advanced or collapsed under its own weight. The final category includes the largest and most specialized transport machines used by Germany, vehicles designed for tasks beyond ordinary logistics. Vorn L900 was a heavy-duty transport and recovery vehicle built to move oversized loads, damaged equipment, and heavy trailers that standard trucks could not handle. With its powerful engine and reinforced chassis, it was often assigned to the most demanding recovery and transport missions. These vehicles operated behind the lines, quietly enabling repairs, relocations, and continued operations when critical equipment broke down or became immobilized. The FAN L900 was not produced in large numbers, but its role was crucial. It moved disabled vehicles, transported heavy components, and supported engineering units tasked with keeping roads and infrastructure functional. Its size and weight made it slow and difficult to conceal, and like all heavy transport, it required significant fuel and maintenance. As the war progressed and resources dwindled, machines like the L900 became increasingly rare and difficult to replace. These specialized heavy transports marked the limits of Germany's logistical capability. They represented a system pushed to its extremes, relying on a shrinking industrial base to keep vital machinery moving. In the end, even the most powerful transport vehicles could not overcome shortages of fuel, parts, and time. Underscoring how logistics ultimately shaped the outcome of the war, German military trucks and transport vehicles rarely appear in history books, yet they were the machines that carried the war on their backs. Every offensive, every retreat, and every day of fighting depended on fuel deliveries, ammunition convoys, and supply columns reaching the front. From standardized cargo trucks to heavy prime movers and desperate tracked solutions, these vehicles turned factories into fighting power. Germany's early success relied on mobility, but as the war expanded, logistics became its greatest weakness. Supply lines grew longer, fuel became scarce, and Allied air power relentlessly targeted transport routes. Even the most capable trucks and tractors could not overcome shortages of resources, spare parts, and industrial capacity. Breakdowns mounted, vehicles were abandoned, and entire formations slowed or collapsed as supplies failed to arrive. These machines reveal a hard truth about World War II. Victory was not decided only by superior weapons or battlefield tactics, but by the ability to sustain armies over time. German military trucks and transport vehicles kept the war moving longer than it should have. But in the end, they could not compensate for an overstretched system fighting a global industrial coalition. Logistics did not just support the war, it defined its limits and ultimately determined its outcome.